In this video, we are going to see Cold War. Recently, the fall of the Berlin Wall was celebrated, which was played a pivotal event in the Cold War era. On which it was celebrated? It was celebrated on 9 November. What is the Cold War? So the Cold War period was from 1945 till 1991. So it is of the geopolitical tension between the Soviet Union and its satellite states. So what are the satellite states? They are the Eastern European countries and the US. So US along with the allies. So what are the allies? It is Western European countries after the World War II. So after the World War II, the world got divided into two power blocks. So they are dominated by the two superpowers, Soviet Union, the other is US. These two superpowers were primarily engaged in an ideological war. So between whom? One is the capitalist USA, the other is the communist Soviet Union. Here the term cold is used because there was no large-scale fighting directly between the two sides. So let us give me an example. Let us consider two countries A and B. So these two countries A and B are directly fighting. They will fight with the help of the countries C and D. That's what happened here. So we call it as a Cold War. Next, Cold War timeline. So we'll see in what all the years, what are the incidents have occurred. So in 1947, so there is an American president named President Harry Truman. His doctrine about the containment of communism. Next, in the year 1946 to 1952, Marshall Plan was implemented. So it was aided for the reconstruction of the Western Europe. Next year is from 1948 to 1949. So there is a blockade of Berlin by the Soviet Union and the surlift of the supplies to the citizen of Western Berlin by the US and its allies. So Korean War took place between 1950 and 1953. In 1954, America's intervention in Vietnam. Next, in 1956, Soviet intervention in Hungary. In 1962, there occurs a crisis, Cuban Missile Crisis. In 1968, there is an intervention in Czechoslovakia. Whose intervention is it? Is that Soviet intervention. Next, in 1979 to 1989, Soviet had intervened in Afghanistan. In 1989, Berlin Wall fell down. So there was a mass protest against the governments in the Eastern Europe. In 1990, Germany has once again unified. Next, in the 1991, disintegration of the Soviet Union, and there occurred the end of the Cold War. So as I said earlier, this Cold War was between the Allied countries. What are the Allied countries? UK, France, etc. These two countries were led by the US and a Soviet Union. So let me see about the Soviet Union. So this Soviet Union is officially known as the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. That is the USSR. So the Soviet Union is the first communist state. So when it was established in 1922. So next we'll go on to the reasons. What are the reasons for the Cold War? So during the World War, Allied countries, USA, UK and France and the Soviet Union, they fought against the Axis power. What are the Axis power? Nazi, Germany, Japan and Austria. However, what happened is the wartime alliance couldn't not work out after the World War II. There are so many multiple factors are there. Next, we'll see about the Potsdam Conference. So this Potsdam Conference was held at Berlin in 1945 among US, UK, and Soviet Union. So the conference was held to discuss about the how administration is going to take place in the defeated Germany, then the boundary, about the demarcation of the boundary of Poland, then how occupation will be in Austria. Then in Eastern Europe, what is the role of Soviet Union? So what happened is the Soviet Union wanted some portion of the Poland bordering the Soviet Union to be maintained as a, so they wanted to maintain some portion of the Poland as a buffer zone. So this USA and UK did not agree to that demand. And also about the exact nature of the atom bomb dropped, which was dropped in the Japan. So this created a suspicion in Soviet Union about the intentions of Western country in bettering of the alliance. So this suspicion creation in the Soviet leadership. Next, we'll see about the Truman's Doctrine. So this Truman's Doctrine was announced on March 12, 1947 by a US president, who is a US president, Harry S. Truman. So what is this Truman Doctrine? So it is a US policy. So to stop the Soviet Union's communist and the imperialist endeavors through various ways like providing them economic aid to other countries. So let us see the example. The US appropriated the financial aid to support the economy and the militaries of Greece and Turkey. So historians believe that the announcement of this doctrine marked the official declaration of the Cold War. Next, we'll see about the Iron Curtain. What is the Iron Curtain? It is the political, military, and the ideological barrier. So it was erected by the Soviet Union after the World War II to seal off itself on the dependent Eastern and the Central European alliance. So which were the open contact with the West and the other non-communist areas. So on the east side of the Iron Curtain, there were the countries. Okay, so these countries were connected to or influenced by the Soviet Union. On the west side, there were countries. So what are the countries? They are the allies of US, UK. They are nominally neutral. We'll see about the important events of the Cold War. So the Berlin blockade 1948. So as there was a tension between the Soviet Union and the allied countries, it keep on growing, the tension was keep on growing. So Soviet Union, what they did is they applied a Berlin blockade in which year? In 1948. So let's see about the Berlin blockade. What is the Berlin blockade? So it is the attempt. Okay. So this attempt was made by the Soviet Union. Okay, to limit the ability of the allied countries to travel through the sectors of Berlin. So next, on August 13, 1961, communist government of the German Democratic Republic began to build a barbed wire. Okay, they decided to build a barbed wire and concrete wall and a concrete wall. So that concrete wall is called as the Berlin Wall. So between East Berlin and the West Berlin. Okay. So it served the objective of stemming mass emigration from the east to West Berlin. Except under the circumstances, travelers from the east and West Berlin are rarely allowed. Okay, so what happened is, so the travelers were rarely allowed from the East Berlin to the West Berlin. This Berlin War is the symbol of the Cold War. US and the Soviet Union until it fall in 1989. History of the Berlin Wall. Allied countries. So what are the allied countries here? US, UK and France and the Soviet Union. They defeated the Nazi Germany in the World War II, right? In which year? In 1945. So after what these conferences occurred, okay, Yalta and the Potsdam Conference, 1945, held between the Soviet Union and the Allied countries. So they are going to decide the fate of the Germany territories. So at the conference, so what happened? This Germany is divided into zones. So one will come under the Russian, the other will come under the American, British, and the French influence. So the eastern part of the country, okay, so the eastern part of the country, this is the eastern part. So this part of the country came under the Soviet Union. And the western part, okay, this is the western part. So it came under the American sector. Okay, this fully the western part come under the American sector, British sector, and the French sector. So this Berlin was the capital. So the Berlin was like this. So what they're going to do is they're going to split the Berlin. So the Berlin was in the Russian zone. So what happened is once again the three allied zones got merged and became the Federal Republic of Germany. So it is called as the FRG or the West Germany. So while the Soviet occupation zone became the Democratic Republic, that is GDR or East Germany. So the Berlin was the main bone of contention between what are the two countries? One is USSR and the Allied countries. So then what happened is this West Berlin became the island within the Communist East country. So after the Berlin Wall, okay, this is the path of the Berlin Wall. Okay. So this Berlin Wall fell on the November 9th in 1989. So that gave the symbolic end to the Cold War. Now, the Marshall Plan versus the Comintern. So in the Marshall Plan, what happened is in 1947, American Secretary of the State George Marshall unveiled the European Recovery Program. So it offered so many help, okay, like the economic and the financial help wherever it was needed. So the other aim of the ERP is what? European Recovery Program. So they promoted the economic recovery of Europe. However, this is from the Truman's Doctrine. We'll see about the Comintern. So the Soviet Union, what they did is they denounced the whole idea of the Marshall Plan as a dollar imperialism. So what happened? So the Comintern is what? The Communist Information Bureau. It was launched in the year 1947. So as a Soviet response to Marshall Plan. So Soviet, what happened? They launched a Marshall Plan. So in response to that, Comintern was launched. So what is this? It is an organization to draw together mainly Eastern European countries. Next, we'll see about the NATO versus Warsaw Pact. So what do you mean by NATO? NATO is a North Atlantic Treaty Organization. This Berlin Bloc, it showed the West military unreadiness. Okay. So and what did they is they got frightened in making a definite preparations. In 1948, mainly, so the Western European countries signed the Brussels Defense Treaty. Okay, it was a treaty. It was signed by the Western Europe. Okay, so what they did is they promised a military collaboration in case of the war. If there is any war, they will provide the military service. Later on, Brussels Defense Treaty was joined by USA. So later what happened is Brussels Defense Country was joined by the many countries like USA, Canada, Portugal, Denmark, Iceland, Italy, and Norway. So this led to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So what happened? These NATO countries so agreed to regard an attack on any one of them as an attack on all of them. So so these are the NATO countries. If any other countries attack this NATO countries, so all these countries like USA, Portugal, Denmark, Iceland, Italy, and Norway will provide the military forces. Next, we'll proceed above with the Warsaw Pact. So this Warsaw Pact was signed in the year 1951. So to between Russia and other satellite states, it was signed. So after this, West Germany was admitted to NATO. So this pact is nothing, is a mutual defense agreement. Okay, so this is a mutual defense agreement. So in which the Western countries purged him as a reaction against the West Germany membership of NATO. So next we will see about the what is space race. So this space exploration served as another dramatic arena for the Cold War competition. So in 1956, Soviet Union launched Sputnik. Okay, so the Sputnik 1 is the world's first artificial satellite, and this is also a first man-made object. Okay, so they placed in the Earth's orbit. In 1958, US launched its own satellite. It is called as the Explorer 1. However, so this space race was won by the US when it successfully landed. It was the first to successfully landed Neil Armstrong on the surface of the moon in 1969. Next is your arms race. The containment strategy of US provided the rationale for an unprecedented arms buildup in the United States, reciprocated by the Soviet Union. They developed a nuclear weapons. So those nuclear weapons took place in the massive scale, and the world entered into the age of the nuclear. Next, we'll see about the Cuban Missile Crisis, which happened in 1962. So, though this Cuba, what happened? They got involved in the Cold War when the US broke its diplomatic relationship with Cuba in 1961. So, the Soviet Union, what they did is they increased their economic aid to the Cuba. So, in 1961, USA planned the Bay of Pigs invasion of the Cuba. So what they did is they intend to overthrow the head of the Cuban state. Who's the head of the Cuban state? Is a Fidel Castro, who was backed by the Soviet Union. However, this operation got failed. So then the Fidel Castro, what he did is he appealed to the Soviet Union for the military help. So to which Soviet Union decided to set up a nuclear missile launchers in Cuba. They were aiming at the USA. So this Cuban Missile Crisis brought the two superpowers on the brink of the nuclear war. So the nuclear war took, okay, so they brought the brink of the nuclear war between two superpowers. What are the superpowers here? USA and the Soviet Union. However, crisis was averted diplomatically. about the how the Cold War came to an end. In 1991, the Soviet Union got collapsed. So there are so many factors, okay? So that marked the end of the Cold War. As what happened, the superpowers became weakened. So now we will see about the reason for the collapse of Soviet Union. So in military reasons, the space race and the arms races are there. So those two races were drained a considerable portion of Soviet Union resources for their military needs. The second one is the regime. So in order to kickstart more and Soviet economy, so Gorbachev instituted the policies, two policies. One is the glasnost. It is a called as openness, and the next one is perestroika. It is restructuring. So this, what is this glasnost means? It is meant for the liberalization of the political landscape. So next is perestroika. So it intends to introduce a quasi-free market policies in the place of the where are the government-run industries. So if there are any government-run industries, so they introduce a quasi-free market policies. So it will allow more independent actions from the various industries, and they introduce many market-like reforms. So acting a renaissance in communist thought. So these steps opened the floodgates to the criticism of the entire Soviet apparatus. So the once again what happened? The state lost the control both the media as well as the public sphere. And these democratic reform movements gained steam through the Soviet Union. So there was a growing dissension in the public. So as the economy was falling, so there was a dissentment in the public, poverty and unemployment. So this made the people of the Soviet Union attracted to the Western ideology and the way of life. Next, we'll see about the Afghanistan War. So the Soviet Afghan in 1979 to 1981, this is the most key factor in the breakup of the Soviet Union. So what it happened is, so it drained both the economic as well as the military sources of the Soviet Union. Next is the conclusion. So this end of the Cold War, it marked the viceroy of US and the bipolar world entered. So bipolar world order turned into a unipolar. So however, over the last decade, the position of the US was appeared as the most powerful state. So it has appeared increasingly unstable. So the US, they did is the invasions of the Afghanistan and the Iraq, and they had a non-traditional security threats. Next, global economic instability and the apparent spread of religious fundamentalism. So together, so there arose the emerging economic powers like Japan, Austria, India, China, etc. So they made the world look more multipolar. So and these also led to predict the decline of the West and rise of the West. Thank you.